What is the true cost of faith? For one woman in a quiet Tennessee town, the price was almost her entire reality. This story begins under the steeple of a small-town church, a place meant to be a sanctuary from life's storms. But in Oakhaven, the storm came from inside the harbor. The most trusted man in town, the person parents entrusted with their children's morals, couples with their marriages, was hiding a monstrous secret. This isn't just a story of crime. It's about a mask of piety and kindness that hid a predatory darkness. It's about what happens when that mask is torn away, shattering a community and testing one woman's courage beyond imagination. If you're fascinated by true crime stories that explore the dark psychology of predators in positions of power, make sure to subscribe. We investigate cases where trust becomes the ultimate weapon and justice is a hard-fought battle. To understand this case, you must first understand Oakhaven. Nestled in Tennessee's rolling hills, it was more than just a town, it was an idea. An idea of community, shared values, and a simpler, safer America. With about 8,000 residents, life revolved around high school football, the annual fall festival, and most importantly, Sunday service. At the community's heart stood Oakhaven Divine Church, led by Pastor Michael Shields. He wasn't a hellfire preacher, that was his genius. In his late 40s, with a calm demeanor, he projected utter sincerity. Over 15 years, he hadn't just grown his congregation, he'd woven himself into every family's fabric. He coached kids softball, visited the sick unasked, helped with groceries and parking lots. He remembered your anniversary, your child's name, your mother's illness. He built a kingdom of trust, brick by brick, smile by smile. In this kingdom lived Sarah Jenkins. At 32, she was the community member every small town relies on. A dedicated mother to Lily and Noah, supportive wife to her husband Mark, who managed the local plant. She was a devout, active church member. Sarah taught Sunday school, organized holiday food drives, and always volunteered first. Her faith wasn't just Sunday ritual, it was her life's compass. She saw Pastor Shields not just as a spiritual leader, but as a mentor and family friend. For years, Oakhaven life remained as peaceful as the surrounding hills. But predators don't always stalk dark alleys. Sometimes they operate in plain sight, using community currency, trust, faith, goodwill to fund dark compulsions. To Michael Shields, Sarah Jenkins wasn't just a parishioner, she was the perfect target. Devoted, kind-hearted, raised in culture teaching never to question a man of God. The first signs were so subtle, so masterfully disguised as pastoral care, that no red flags rose. It began 6 months before the assault. Pastor Shields started asking Sarah to stay after Sunday school. "I'm impressed with your work with the children," he'd say, voice warm with concern. "I have ideas for youth outreach and value your input. You have such a good heart for this. Who would refuse?" It felt like an honor. Their talks in his book-lined office felt safe and holy. Then requests grew more frequent. He began texting, always daytime, always church business initially. "Could you help organize the donation closet Thursday evening? You're the only one I trust to get it right. I'm counseling a young couple and thinking of referring them to you and Mark as marriage mentors. Your relationship inspires." He was building a box around her flattery, spiritual duty, manufactured intimacy. Isolating her under inclusion's guise, making her feel uniquely seen by the community's most important man. Systematically blurring lines between pastor and parishioner, creating dynamics where his attention felt privileged yet obligatory. Her husband Mark initially saw it positively. "The pastor really sees your potential, honey," he'd say. Even Sarah's church friends remarked, "You and Pastor Shields are really getting that program going. He thinks highly of you." The stage was set, with everyone in Sarah's life as unwitting stagehands. Can you spot grooming signs? The isolation, flattery, secret creation? It's a pattern in many cases. If you've experienced something feeling off in a power dynamic relationship, share your thoughts below. Your story could help others. The assault occurred on a crisp October Tuesday. Oakhaven was decorated for Halloween. Sarah attended a planned meeting about the Christmas charity auction. Mark was home with the kids. The meeting involved just them. Pastor Shields had dismissed other committee members, saying they needed to crunch final numbers. When the last person left, the office atmosphere shifted. The warm, avuncular pastor seemed different. Agitated. He locked the office door, joking about avoiding interruptions. He produced wine, something he'd never done. "A gift from a grateful parishioner," he said. "Let's celebrate our great work." Sarah, uncomfortable yet powerless to object to her pastor, reluctantly accepted a glass. What followed was calculated, brutal betrayal. He moved from behind his desk to sit beside her on the small couch. He confided about his struggles, his loneliness, in leadership, manipulating her compassion, turning potential target into reluctant confidant. When she nervously stood to leave, he stood too, blocking her path. The man she trusted to baptize her children, counsel her marriage, guide her soul, then assaulted her. Police report details are graphic and disturbing, but the core remains. In her safest place, Sarah Jenkins was violently betrayed. Stained glass windows, the wall cross, his desk Bible, all silent witnesses to horror. The assault lasted minutes, but the psychological scar would last lifetimes. Afterwards, he didn't look monstrous. He looked like Pastor Shields again, calmly telling her, "This was shared spiritual weakness. We must pray for forgiveness and never speak of this. For the church's sake. For your family." He was already constructing the narrative, a shared sin, making her complicit in her own violation. Sarah fled church in a daze, driving home through Oakhaven's quiet, familiar streets that now felt alien and threatening. For 2 weeks, Sarah lived in private hell, plagued by shock, shame, and debilitating cognitive dissonance. How could the man everyone loved, who she believed was God's direct conduit, be a rapist? She blamed herself. Had she led him on? Was it the wine? Did she misinterpret intentions? She withdrew from family, couldn't bear her husband's touch, made excuses to skip church. The vibrant, engaged woman disappeared, replaced by a hollow, anxious shell. Her life's bedrock faith was in ruins. The breaking point came during family dinner. Her 5-year-old daughter Lily prayed, "And God bless Mommy and Daddy, and God bless Pastor Shields. He's our favorite friend." Something in Sarah snapped. Her daughter being near that man, trusting him, loving him, filled her with primal, protective fury. Fear and shame were overpowered by clear, cold realization. She couldn't let him do this to others. She couldn't let her daughter grow up in his church. She confessed everything to Mark. The revelation devastated him. Volcanic rage at Shields, crushing guilt for not protecting his wife, then fear. Fear of backlash, what this would do to their family, their town standing. But to his eternal credit, Mark Jenkins stood by his wife. "We're going to the police," he said. "Tonight." This moment stops many cases before they start. The fear of not being believed, especially when the perpetrator is community revered, is paralyzing. If you stand with Sarah and Mark, show support by liking this video. Let's message that we believe survivors. Walking into Oakhaven Police Department was among their hardest actions. The report-taking officer was an Oakhaven Divine member. The investigation felt like dismantling a bomb with everyone holding wires. Detective Miller, brought from a neighboring county to avoid conflicts, later described the atmosphere as investigative quicksand. Meanwhile, allegation news began leaking, not exploding, but seeping like poison into town water supply. Then the church fought back. Instead of suspending Shields pending investigation, the church board local businessmen who were his close friends held an emergency meeting. Their response wasn't supporting the victim, but protecting the institution. They issued a formal internal decree, finding Sarah Jenkins guilty of seducing a man of God and violating pastoral sanctity. They excommunicated her entire family, banning them from all church activities. In one swift, cruel move, they exiled the victim and canonized the predator. The message was clear: the church was a fortress, and Michael Shields was its king. Oakhaven tore itself in two. A minority, including brave church members, believed Sarah and left in disgust, holding quiet vigils outside the Jenkins home. But the majority turned on Sarah with breathtaking ferocity. She was called Jezebel, homewrecker, liar, accused of extorting the church. Childhood friends crossed streets to avoid her. Her children were bullied at school. Their dog was poisoned. Their car was keyed. They lived under constant, hateful siege. National media descended, turning Oakhaven into a spectacle. News vans lined streets. Reporters shoved microphones in Sarah's face, demanding, "How does it feel to destroy a town?" Through it all, Michael Shields remained in his pulpit each Sunday, preaching about forgiveness for accusers and faithful persecution. His sermons were psychological manipulation masterclasses, and his congregation ate it up, their devotion hardening into fanatical defense. Could you imagine your entire community turning against you for telling the truth? The psychological strength required is almost superhuman. Comment: strength for Sarah below. The criminal trial of the state of Tennessee versus Michael Shields became a media circus and legal battleground. The defense strategy was simple: destroy Sarah Jenkins' credibility. Shields' slick, expensive Nashville attorney painted a lonely, frustrated pastor and an obsessed parishioner. He portrayed their text as flirtatious, suggested Sarah loved the pastor, and concocted rape allegations after rejection. Then Sarah took the stand. For 2 agonizing days, she endured cross-examination. The defense attorney loomed, voice dripping condescension. "Isn't it true you often stayed late with the pastor alone? Isn't it true you told a friend you found Pastor Shields charismatic? Explain why you kept volunteering if so uncomfortable?" Trembling but firm, Sarah never raised her voice or broke down. She looked jurors in the eye, describing in horrific, consistent detail the assault and preceding grooming. She embodied raw, painful truth. The prosecution's closing argument was powerful. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," the district attorney said, pointing at Shields, "that man didn't just assault Sarah Jenkins. He assaulted all Oakhaven. He took their trust, faith, and safety and shattered it. You can pick up the pieces. You can show that here, no one is above the law. Not even a pastor." The jury deliberated 3 unbearable days. Finally, the bailiff announced a verdict. In the packed, silent courtroom, the foreman stood. The charge: aggravated sexual assault. Guilty. The word echoed like thunder. Gasps and sobs came from Shields' supporters, a quiet sigh of relief from Sarah Jenkins. She didn't smile, just closed her eyes as a crushing weight lifted. Michael Shields was immediately handcuffed and led away. At sentencing, victim impact statements were read. Sarah's was simple. "You stole my peace, church, and safety. But you didn't break me. Because of this verdict, you'll never do this to anyone else." Judge Harold Wilkins delivered a scathing rebuke. "You, sir, are a wolf in shepherd's clothing. You perverted sacred community trust for depraved desires." He sentenced Michael Shields to 15 years in state penitentiary, no early parole. The legal victory was won, but the town remained broken. Oakhaven Divine Church's congregation withered. Many families never returned. The Jenkins family, though vindicated, knew they could never again live in Oakhaven. They moved states, rebuilding lives from ashes. Yet Sarah's case impacted far beyond one town. It became landmark, cited in legal journals and by victim advocacy groups. It sparked Sarah's law legislation, making it harder for religious institutions to shield predators and easier to prosecute sexual assaults within authority relationships. Darkness was exposed, and new protections were born. Sarah Jenkins's name isn't just on a court docket. It symbolizes staggering courage to speak truth to power, even when power wears God's mask. She lost her home, community, and church, but won justice, protecting countless others. Her story chillingly reminds that evil often wears friendly faces. But it powerfully testifies that one voice, however outnumbered, can topple kingdoms of lies. If Sarah's resilience and justice fight moved you, please share this video. Let's amplify courage stories. For more investigations into darkest true crimes, subscribe with notifications on. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and never stop seeking truth.